Okay, welcome to this tutorial, guys. It's on AP Maths, and we're just doing a revision of factorization for grade 10 AP Maths. Okay, so with factorizing, essentially, all we're trying to do is group things together. And once you've done a number of questions, you'll get more familiar with what to group, and you start to see things that you can group. Okay, so let's get into the first question. So looking at the first question, I see there's an AX and a 3A, and we've got an X and a 3x. So immediately I want to try and group the a's together. So let's start off there. So let's write it out first. Ax minus 3a minus x squared plus 3x. Okay, let's factor out an a in the first two terms. Then we're left with a x minus 3, and let's leave the second term as it is for now. Okay, so now I have a minus 3 here, and I've got a plus 3x here. So I'm thinking we should pull out a minus x. So let's leave the first one as it is. We've taken out a minus x, so we're left with x minus 3. Now we can group these two together. So we're left with a minus x times x minus 3. And that's the final answer. Okay, let's look at the second question. Okay, so in the second question, we've got x's and y's. But we can see that this pattern of xy and y squared and x squared at the beginning. So let's just assume the y isn't there, and we just carry the y because we've got the pattern of x squared, then xy to the power of 1 and y squared. Because they're squares and the middle terms aren't squares, we can just work with them like we normally do. So the way we do these is, first we know we're going to have a 2x for the first bracket, and we know we're going to have an x, because multiplying these two together gives us an 2x squared. So that's the first term done. The second part, we know we need to get a plus sign at the end. So we know we're going to need a plus plus or a minus minus, but in this case, because the middle term is negative, we're going to need a minus minus. So we can put in the minus signs. So now the question is, do we have a 6y and a y, or do we have a y and a 6y, or do we have a 3y and a 2y? So these are the questions we need to ask. So how I do this is, what you do is you make a small sketch, or not a sketch, but a small table of some sort. So you have x and y. So we know we have 2x, and we know we have 1x here. So what are our options? How could we need to get 13 in the middle. So what we do is, let's start with a 6 here and a 1 here. We know that these are both minuses. Okay, then what we do is we multiply across. So you multiply there, you multiply there, and you write the answer. So then we have 2 times minus 6 is minus 12, 1 times minus 1 is minus 1. And then we sum these, and we have minus 13. So we know that it's going to be 2x minus y, and we know it's going to be x minus 6y. Let's say we got these the wrong way around. See if we get the same answer. Okay, so if we had a 6 here and a 1 here, then we have minus 1 and minus 6, which gives us a sum of minus 7. So we know that's not the pattern, or that's not the order they go in. Then if we tried 3 and 2, we'd also see that that doesn't work. So we know that we're the right combination. It's this one here. So the final answer is 2x minus y times x minus 6y. And if you multiply that out, which I suggest you do, you'll see that you actually get the right answer. Okay, looking at this, okay, so before we get into this, let's just have a quick recap on one of our rules, which I know as dots. Dots. So what does dot stand for? It stands for difference of two squares. Okay, so it's essentially a rule that we have that says that x minus a times x plus a is equal to x squared minus a squared. Okay, so if we look, we've got that pattern, this x squared minus a squared, or similar pattern right here. So what we can do is we can write this as a minus b, and then a plus b, and we still have a minus a minus b squared, right? Now we can imagine there's a little invisible one in there, so then what we can do is we can just group these together. So then we're left with a minus b, so we cancel that and we cancel one of these. That's important, we only cancel one. And in the next bracket we have a plus b minus, smaller bracket, a minus b, right? So then we just multiply that out. We have a plus b minus a minus minus b, which is a plus b. So we're left with these cancel, 2b times a minus b. Okay, an alternate way to do this question would be to do something. So this is the final answer, but a different way to do this would be to just a minus b squared, and then let's just multiply this out. Then we're left with a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. Okay, and then we multiply the negative into everything. We're left with a squared minus b squared minus a squared plus 2ab minus b squared. Okay, these cancel. So then what we're left with is 2ab, taking the positive in front, minus b squared. And as before, take out 2b. So we'll take out these two and we're left with b. Sorry, that's a 2. So that cancels and one of these cancels. We're left with, sorry about this. Let's just take that step. Let's go one step backwards and we're left with 2ab from there minus 2b squared. Okay, then we take out a 2b, take out there, and we're left with a minus, take out 2, take out a b minus b. And if you look at these, we've got the same answer. So you can take either approach, whatever's easier for you. Okay, with this question, quite a simple question, we can just factorize x and y out, and we're left with x squared y squared minus 1. Okay, and this again follows the dots, or the rules for dots. So we can factorize this more. We can have xy and xy minus 1 times xy plus 1. And that is your final answer. Okay, again, another question that follows dots. Okay, so if we have anything to the power of an even number, then our rule for dots still applies. So the rule where we say that x squared minus a squared equals a, rather, x minus a, x plus a. So this rule always applies for even numbers. But what we have to do is, here we have x to the power of 1 and to the power of 1. If we have a 4, then this becomes x to the power of 2 and x to the power of 2. So let's do this. So y to the power of 4 minus 1 4 is equal to y squared minus 12. So y squared plus 12. Okay, and once again we have dots again. So we can say y minus square root of 12, y plus square root of 12 times y squared plus 12. And that would be your final answer. Okay, looking at this question. Okay, so in this question we have r cubed minus 1. Here we have 1 minus r cubed. So we want to try to get these things to look similar. So one way of doing that is by introducing a minus sign here, right? Because that makes this term, so essentially we're pulling out a minus sign from here. So you pull out a minus sign from here, both of these, which gives us the right answer. So let's 36t squared r cubed minus 1 plus 4, and we say minus r cubed minus 1. So these two statements are equal, right? Because this is equal to that if we just multiply the minus in. So now what we do is, instead of having the minus there, we're just going to take it out and put it in front of the 4. So we're going to have minus 4. Okay, now that we have these two being the same, we can just group the r cubes minus 1, and we're left with 36 t squared minus 4. And again, we have dots here. So we can change that to r cubed minus 1, 6t minus 2 times 6t plus 2. Okay, so with dots, if you have a constant, you square root it, essentially, to get the answer. Okay, and the last question for this tutorial. Okay, so this one, we're not really sure what we have to do, but I see that there's an a squared and an a cubed. So I think if we take on an a squared here, we might be able to do something. So let's pull out an a squared. So we have 1 minus a. And again, we can just assume that there's an invisible 1 there, put brackets around it, and then group these two together, and we get 1 plus a squared times 1 minus a. And that is the final answer. Okay, and that's all the questions. So I hope this was useful, guys. I hope you guys paused the video and did the questions before looking at the answers. So thanks for watching.